I'm DC Lozano with PowerPack. Welcome to Next Up. Today's guest is Akili, who is running for California State Assembly District 57. Welcome, Akili. It's really awesome to have you here today.
Thank you so much, DC, and I appreciate being here. And I have a long history with PowerPack. I used to be on their board.
That's amazing. So you know what's up. You know what we're trying to do out here.
Well, I've been doing this now for 5 decades. I've been a part of movements. I've been a part of the social justice and human rights movement for a long time. But the culture that exists in this society causes us to focus on privilege versus human rights. And because I've been a human rights advocate, I always argue for the human rights. But in this society, we live in a privilege-based society. That is, you can have it if you can afford it.
Wow.
And so as a human rights activist, as a social justice organizer, then what I spend my time doing is looking at how do we focus on human needs. I would like to see the state invest more in land trust, because once we get the land, everything on it is permanently affordable. I'd like to see the state invest 10 cents for every dollar that the federal government gives for Section 8, so we could build more Section 8 housing, so we could reduce the waiting list, which could be a decade long. I'd like to see the housing department have a division for renters, to educate, support renters' rights. Renters have rights, but because there's an imbalance between corporate landlords who have attorneys and access to resources, and then renters. I mean, this seems simplistic, but if we are going to get away from the houseless crisis that we have, we are going to have to build more housing. We're going to have to provide services and support for the people to get the housing. But right now we're in a conundrum. High housing costs, low wages. We've gotten away from the concept that public good has public value. And so we want to privatize public education. We want to privatize public roads. We want to everything public, we should be able to make money off. And in order to make a profit, there's two things you got to do. You got to raise the rates, and you got to reduce the workforce in order for you to make a profit. So, but that's the notion around moving from a privilege-based society to a human rights-based society. I've developed 3 basic beliefs. The first one is that people make a difference if you go to them. Not enough to have a good idea that you keep in this room. That the essence of democracy is inclusion and participation. And we live in the richest country in the world. We can have a just, fair, and equitable society. And we live in the richest state in the richest country in the world. So it's not like we can't afford it. The second thing is, once you go to people, then you have to ask them to make a decision. Is this the kind of thing you want to be involved in? And how do we make change? And then finally, how do you take those decisions, those policies, and lift them up and advance them? It would be, how do I affect the culture so that, one, that culture would be centered around empathy versus envy.
Please.
That's the first thing. A culture of inclusion versus exclusion, and a culture of diversity. That is, looking at all of us and being able to see that because I'm a little different shouldn't frighten you. But if we start with empathy, we can get the inclusion and diversity. But if you can't empathize with me, or you can't see where I'm coming from, or where you see me coming from is it's like I'm lazy, I'm violent, I'm all these things, then I can't get to the second one of inclusion.
Yeah.
And certainly can't get to the third one of diversity, because you are suspicious of me.
Wow.
So if I had to, so your thing was, how could I impact the culture so that it would be empathetic, so that it would be inclusionary, and it would accept diversity and see diversity as a strength, not a weakness.
If,
If
if
I
I ever find a magic bottle or a magic lamp and I get one wish, it's going to be to make Akili's wish come true and do all of that. Underdog or trendsetter?
oh, I'm very much an underdog.
Couch or recliner?
Hmm. I like recliners, but I prefer couches.
Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
Yeah, same. Roughing it or luxury hotel?
Maybe a bougie streak comes out on me here, but I'd be a little bit inclined toward the luxury hotel
Scary movie or comedy?
comedy.
Final one. For what in your life are you most grateful?
Oh, my Well, first of all, the work I'm doing now, which is the best work I've done in 52 years, with the work I'm doing with Black Lives Matters, in large part because it's founded, led, and directed by Black women.
Yep.
Two, because it's involving impacted people and families, and so I'm grateful for what I'm doing now.
Thank you so much for being here today, Akili. That was very inspiring, very moving, and I can't wait to share it with everybody. So if you're out there, tune in next week to see who's next on Next Up. Thanks for being here.